This is my audience for my persuasive speech. Ever since the days of Jonas Salk discovering a cure for polio, scientists in medicine have been racing to find cures for other fatal diseases as well. Human stem cells are the link to that cure. Did you know that embryonic pluripotent stem cells are certain types of cells that are able to change into other types of body cells? After cell division has taken place in an embryonic stem cell, the cell has the ability to remain a stem cell or turn into a more specialized cell, such as a white blood cell or a skin cell. Scientists have acquired this information through extensive experiments and research which has taken many years. Over these years, the government has become reluctant to providing so much money for these research studies because no known diseases have been completely cured in our country. For example, George Bush put a federal restriction on stem cell research that lasted 8 years, but in 2009, Barack Obama overturned this restriction. Stem cell research should definitely be funded because it aids in finding cures for many diseases. The whole process sounds promising, but there is still a large majority of society that believes that using stem cells for embryos is the same thing as murdering a living being. One of my favorite teachers at Youngstown State once said that many people believe the soul enters a fertilized egg, and many people do not believe that. Essentially, it's a religious argument. I personally do not believe that the soul enters a fertilized egg, because if that were the case, then identical twins would only get half a soul. I am here today to convince you that utilizing embryonic stem cells for a good purpose, to potentially cure terminal illnesses and injuries, is not murder, and funds must be provided in order to utilize them for trials. In a cell biology class that I took here at Youngstown State University, I learned that many human embryos being stored in labs are used in vitro fertilization. But if those embryos are not needed, they are discarded as waste. If the embryos are not used in 5 years, legally they can be discarded. So the issue here is that many Americans support in vitro fertilization for women who cannot naturally get pregnant, but they do not realize that the embryos that aren't used are being wasted or killed, as some might say. But a large majority of society also believes that using the stem cells for stem cell trials is absolutely murder. That it's okay to throw the embryos away, but it's not okay for them to be put to good use. Let me tell you about a real-life patient named Silvio. Silvio had a grade A spinal cord injury, which according to the American Spinal Injury Association impairment scale is the worst spinal cord injury a patient can suffer. This may seem like an incurable disease to most medical professionals, but it only took one brave doctor to put stem cells to use on Silvio and to reverse his injury. Silvio could not move his legs and he could just barely move his fingers. As a last hope for treatment, Silvio had human stem cells injected into his spine. Silvio had undergone removal of scarred tissue in his spinal cord in order to make room for the new stem cells to grow. Today, Silvio can stand on his own and move his fingers without any help. He can also walk a distance of 30 feet with using a walker. This is an amazing accomplishment for the doctors who helped Silvio, and it should give hope to the rest of society that incurable diseases can be partly cured with the help of stem cells. Without receiving the stem cells, Silvio would not be able to walk on his own, even with a walker. He would still be partially paralyzed. Silvio's case is just one of many that prove that stem cells can be used to cure diseases. All that is needed in America to accelerate more successes like Silvio's are funds and support. A second case I'd like to share with you deals with a man named Doug Rice. In 1998, Rice was told by medical personnel that he only had 2 more years to enjoy his life because of chronic heart failure that occurred after multiple heart attacks. Doug Rice underwent treatment with stem cells in Thailand because no trials were available in the US. Although this case did not take place in the United States, it would show the citizens and medical professionals in our country that this type of work is within our nation's reach. All we would need is a strong majority of supporters who do not believe that using stem cells is a crime, and government financial support. The stem cells used in Doug's treatment were transported to a lab in Israel, where they could multiply. Shortly after, they were sent back to Thailand to be injected into Rice's body. Since his treatment, Rice has been able to enjoy life and has noticed an increase in energy. Doug Rice would most likely not have been able to survive without the injection of adult stem cells. The most shocking fact here, however, is that Doug Rice had to be treated in Thailand because he did not qualify for treatment in the United States. There was most likely a lack of finances to fund his trial, but if enough Americans could vote in favor of allocating funds for stem cell research, more trials could take place here in the United States. Keep in mind that the controversy that could arise among families if every single person who needed treatment had to look for money to travel to other countries for treatment. They would have to pay for plane tickets, housing arrangements, and other basic needs for the patient, whoever was going to support him or her during the treatment. Obviously, a transatlantic trip costs way more than a trip to another state in America. Had more funds for stem cell research been collected in America, maybe Doug Rice could have been treated in America and we could have gotten support, or we could have gotten credit for his medical discovery. Also, no families would have the burden of trying to come up with money just to send their loved ones to a location where treatment is available to save their lives. I hope that I've convinced you that stem cell research is more helpful than it is harmful, and that it should be funded. More patients would experiencing life-changing positive outcomes, America would get more credit for medical discoveries, and less financial burden would be placed on families taking part in trials in other parts of the world. Overall, I hope you have gained a better idea of how stem cells can be used.